On this edition of Sightings, it's called Blood Alley, a perilous highway that may lead to a deadly crack in time.
I just really thought that death was around the next corner.
Then, have extraterrestrial visitors returned to the site of a UFO crash?
There appears to be some type of intelligence behind the phenomena.
Plus, our minds have the power to work miracles.
I wanted enough of a face to be able to blend into a crowd.
Later, a psychic's vision provides clues to a brutal crime in North Carolina.
I would suspect this is someone capable of becoming a serial killer.
Finally, an update. The bizarre mutilations continue in New Mexico.
Maybe they'll start on humans next, I hope.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. Many paranormal researchers believe that our thoughts and emotions don't dissipate. Instead, they linger and can take on a life of their own. In places of great upheaval or tragedy, this concentration of emotional energy can become so strong it actually warps time and space, providing a window into another dimension. It's a theory that may explain the eerie events along a lonely stretch of road in Northern California.
It was like all of a sudden, time became like a glass cage of horror. It was like I couldn't push out of it.
There was something bad or evil that had taken possession of not just me and not just my car, but everybody else, the truck drivers, the car drivers, everybody was being like possessed by something that was driving them to destruction.
I was so scared I just wanted to get out of there, and I was actually driving uncontrolled. Like the car was kind of swerving and different things, and I just kept trying to get as fast as I could to get out of there.
Pacheco Pass Highway, 42 miles of twisting mountain road that traverses the line between Central and Northern California. Since the 1970s, there have been 169 fatalities here.
It was a nightmare. It had the nickname of Blood Alley. Due to the heavy volume of traffic, twisting mountainous road, you had a potential there for a lot of traffic accidents, and we in fact did have a lot of traffic accidents on Pacheco Pass Highway.
But many people who have driven through Pacheco Pass say it's more than the switchbacks and narrow lanes that make this highway so dangerous.
I was coming back from a trip. Coming around one of the curves, all of a sudden I was hit by such an overpowering panic. I began to feel that I was being invaded. I saw a little girl with her hands pressed up to her eyes, screaming, "Help me, help me." I saw men hanging up on a hill, like somebody had put them up on a gallows. It was like a montage of horror.
Sylvia Brown is not the only motorist who has been haunted by bizarre apparitions in Pacheco Pass.
I was driving through Pacheco Pass that night, and I started hearing voices come from the back seat, kind of low. And then it started growing, and at first I thought I was just tired, so I kind of slapped myself and I rolled down the window trying to get some cold air, but then the voices kept getting stronger and stronger. And I was just terrified. I kept trying to drive faster and faster, and I started hearing sounds of horses, like on the sides of the car. There was 3 men outside and 2 women inside, and the noise kept going, and it kept getting louder and louder. You could hear like the wagon that they were in kept creaking and crashing, and it would like slam down, and things were clanking in chains against the side, and the women would scream each time it came down, and it lasted maybe like 10 minutes total.
Are these echoes of the area's violent past come back to haunt modern-day visitors? In 1797, the indigenous tribes here were taken by force and enslaved at San Juan Bautista Mission. They rebelled and massacred many settlers. In retaliation, the tribes were almost completely wiped out. Later, Pacheco Pass became the hideout for Joaquin Murrieta and Tiburcio Vasquez, notorious desperados of the late 19th century. Through the years, the pass has witnessed many violent deaths. It's been suggested that people traveling through the area today may be picking up visual and oral messages that have somehow been locked in time and space. Paranormal researchers Sylvia Brown and Larry Beck think there is a time warp, a rip in the fabric of time in Pacheco Pass.
Pacheco Pass seems to have some kind of, if you will, a tornado of emotion. And it hovers and wiggles slightly, but it moves in and around the Pacheco Pass area. And it's like traumatic events all concentrated into a ball or a whirling mass or a vortex of some kind.
It's almost like there was layers of time upon time. There was fighting, there was Indians, there was covered wagons. Everything that I experienced was like bloodshed, futility, despair.
But tragically in our world, we find so many of these warps where traumas have occurred, where pain has occurred, and they build upon one another until they leave the normal timeline and form a little cutout bubble. And if you're sensitive, you could hit it and experience those things concurrently.
Sylvia Brown has investigated hundreds of hauntings throughout the United States, but she believes that the activity in Pacheco Pass is unique in its intensity and deserves further investigation.
It's not necessarily a haunting, but it's where a lot of activity, usually of a negative nature, has gone on. And what it's done is it's imprinted itself right in the atmosphere in a certain place.
Physicists concede that we know very little about the cosmic relationship between time and space. But for the California Highway Patrol, the problems in the pass are completely down to earth.
Of all the accidents I've worked on Pacheco Pass, I can never attribute any of them to any type of psychic phenomenon. The Highway Patrol has found a reason for every accident we've ever worked out there, and it's always been that way.
But no one can ever know what, if anything, those motorists saw in the moments before their fatal accidents.
I don't know that I can put my finger on it because I'd never delved into the psychic all that much and hadn't thought that much about ghosts and things like that. But I did have the feeling that death was around the next corner.
Does imagination run wild along these dangerous curves? Or is there a mysterious energy from the past imprinted on the present? Research into time warps, or time implants as they are now being called, is in its infancy. So far, the human mind is the only instrument that seems to be capable of measuring this bizarre phenomenon.
Caltrans, the California Department of Transportation, admits that they have considered rerouting Highway 152 away from the so-called Blood Alley, but those plans are still on the drawing board. In the meantime, area residents have launched a private campaign to get the job done. The estimated price tag is $150 million.
Coming up next, a woman uses the power of her mind to come back from a disfiguring accident.
I wanted enough of a face to be able to blend in and not scare people.
Psychosomatic illness is a medical fact. Mainstream medicine accepts without question that some people can make themselves sick through the power of the mind. So could the reverse be true? Are we capable of psychosomatic wellness? Can the same mind that creates illness also be used to heal?
All I remember thinking was, my son has to be all right. I don't care what happens to me as long as he's not hurt.
So I got out of the car. Well, first I looked at my mom, and I was just like totally shocked, you know, I just didn't expect it.
I lost consciousness at the time of the impact, and I had a very intense near-death experience at that time. I went through the standard phases of going through the tunnel of light. Then I went into a beautiful garden.
And I was just like, what do I do? What do I do, you know? And I just yelled, you know, my mom's name to her, and I was just shaking her, just wake up, come on, you know, wake up.
And then suddenly my father was there, and he had been dead for about 10 years. And I said, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you." And he said, "Well, I'm glad to see you too, but you can't stay." And I said, "No, I've gotten here, I'm not leaving." And he said, "No, you have to go back because there's a purpose you haven't fulfilled." And as he was saying that, my son was reviving me, and I could feel myself being pulled back into my body. And he brought me back.
That was in 1982. And from that day to this, Gary Carter has felt that her near-death experience was a turning point. She was being allowed to come back for a reason that she could barely know as she clung to life.
I kept demanding to see my mother, and my father finally said no, that she didn't have a face anymore, and he was not going to let me see her.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say her injuries were probably 9 to 10 in severity. So certainly very high levels of injury.
My eyes were sewn shut because I had a lot of cuts there. I couldn't talk because I had a tracheotomy. I couldn't smell because I didn't have a nose. I couldn't talk because I didn't have a mouth.
This patient, like many others who have facial injuries, no matter how well the surgeons repair them, they never regained exactly their original normal appearance.
Before that, I had been a model, and people always looked at me with admiration. And after the accident, without a nose and without a mouth and without a face, people looked at me with looks of horror. And I felt very guilty for upsetting them. And I wanted enough of a face to be able to blend into a crowd again and not scare people.
Her surgeons warned that the reconstruction process would be long and arduous, requiring at least 10 separate surgeries. After the first operation, the pain was unbearable.
It was just horrible to see, my mom just sitting there in agony, just unable to do anything, and just absolutely in pain.
Intense pain, like a symphony, I remember. It was always there, always intense. It was just horrible. It was a dreadful, dreadful time.
The second surgery was even more excruciating. On the eve of her third surgery, Gary's dread intensified.
And I was scared. I was really scared of the pain. And this very pushy friend called me up and said, "I've heard about these wonderful pain control tapes you might like to use since you have all these years of surgery ahead of you."
The tapes came from the nonprofit Monroe Institute, an education and research facility in Virginia. Here, sound waves are used to affect brain waves, often with amazing results.
We teach people how to use the power of their mind, how to use this power to promote healing processes, to promote optimal learning, to gain control of their life and their perceptions as they move through life.
The Institute was founded on the principle that focused states of consciousness can be achieved by listening to combinations of sounds that alter brainwave patterns. In this focused state, pain can be eliminated. It's called the hemisync method.
We put one sound in one ear and another sound in the other ear, and when these sounds work together inside the brain, they alter your state of consciousness. They actually change the brain waves inside your head.
It's not subliminal. The tones are a part either of music or of ocean waves, depending on the different tapes.
For Gary, the tapes had an amazing effect. Her pain threshold changed so dramatically, she asked if she could listen to a tape in the operating room.
I took the tapes in with me for this surgery to make my nose, and I told Dr. Edgerton, if the tapes worked fine, but if not, I'd like my codeine right away, please. And he smiled and he said he thought it would be an interesting experiment. And all the doctors and nurses were quite interested as well.
And some of these operations, of course, can be very painful for a time. But with the aid of the tapes, even going down to the operating room area with the tapes playing, she really seemed to deal with the anxiety issues and the post-operative pain issues very well. And I think a lot of the staff were very impressed by how much these tapes helped her.
I was relaxed and happy going down into the operating room. It was like going to a fun party instead of the shakes and the queasiness I would have had before.
In Gary's case, it was very clear she did not request very much anesthetic when she was using the Monroe tapes.
The feeling when somebody's cutting on you when you use these tapes is one of being disassociated. You feel the touching and the pulling or pushing as they're cutting or stitching, but there's no pain associated with it. It's just like a very gentle touch.
Where you hypnotize somebody and you tell them you're going to burn them, but you actually reach out and just lightly touch them, the body believes so strongly that it's going to be burned that it will be blistered. Well, you want to use that same kind of mind power to make the body believe so strongly that it's going to get healthy and it's going to have less pain, that it actually kicks in and provides all those things that are necessary for that to happen.
I had no pain after that surgery whatsoever. I used the Monroe audio tapes, and there was minimal swelling and bruising, and I went home from the hospital in 2 days instead of 10.
The whole theory opens a lot of interesting possibilities. We are just in the very early stages of understanding brain function.
Gary continued to use her tapes through 7 more operations. Today, she looks forward to a pain-free life and feels her purpose now is to help others through lectures and her book, Healing Myself.
We truly are all one, and we're all here to help each other. And that's what I want this book to do for other people.
I've been blessed to have the face that I have, but I think in a way Mommy's more blessed to have what's happened to her, because it's changed her and it's given her a whole new outlook. And this is only a skin for me now. It used to be an identity, and now my identity's in here. It's not here.
I guess what really had an effect on me was seeing my mother utilizing these tapes and utilizing the potential within herself to heal. I thought, wow, if that's possible, it really opens the door for so many more things.
The meaning of life to me before the accident was totally based on outer appearances. Now, in my second life, I look at the light bulbs. I don't look at the lampshades as I did in my first life.
The Monroe Institute is not suggesting that every patient should forego anesthesia in the operating room, but they do believe that as long as conventional medicine is standing by, alternative therapy should be given a chance to work first.
When Sightings continues, startling UFO activity captured on home video.
There's an excitement that builds, and it's just like incredible. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Jose Escamilla used to be like a lot of other amateur sky watchers. He'd take his video camera outside and hope for the best. But in March of this year, Jose got something, a UFO streaking across the sky. And since then, he has shot more than 500 hours of what he believes is UFO footage. Where does Jose Escamilla live? 12 miles outside of Roswell, New Mexico.
We began taping UFOs on March 5th. And I got a call and they said, come out to Midway, there's UFOs out here.
Midway, New Mexico is easy to miss if you're speeding by on the interstate. To the casual observer, it's just another small southwestern town. But look up. There, in broad daylight, strange craft are flying over the town. Sightings contacted local residents who have startling home videos of UFOs they just can't explain.
New Mexico as a whole has had a lot of sightings. And I think that there is a tremendous interest by our visitors, should we say, as to the activities that have taken place here in the past.
Here, just a stone's throw from Midway, near Roswell, New Mexico, a suspicious crash landing in 1947 launched modern interest in ufology. The Air Force insisted it was a downed weather balloon, and despite persistent rumors, continued to deny any knowledge of alien craft or life forms. But many people who live and work here believe otherwise, that this new flap of UFOs is connected to the original Roswell incident. Jose Escamilla owns a videotape facility in New Mexico and has shot hundreds of hours of beautiful southwestern scenery. But on March 5th, 1994, Escamilla saw his first UFOs. He immediately began videotaping.
We have a piece of film of a jet, I think it was a Citation, that flew right over the property. I guess it must have been about 500 or 600 feet. And we captured an object that comes from upper screen right on TV, and it goes right up behind the jet, and it seems to tag it on the tail or bump it. and you can see the object taken off away from the jet.
Because of his video background, some people were suspicious of Escamilla's footage. Local news reporter Lachelle Yates launched an investigation.
Given the history of Roswell and the crash, we thought it was interesting that here is a man who is capturing something unexplained on videotape. So we went out and videotaped in the same place that he videotapes, and we got identical objects on our video. So we feel that he's not tricking us with, you know, any video scam or anything. What he has captured on tape, we feel is authentic.
To date, Jose Escamilla has logged more than 500 hours of UFO videotape.
Every time we get a new tape and we find some new kind of object in there, there's an excitement that builds, and it's just like incredible. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
From the film footage I have seen, there appears to be some type of intelligence behind the phenomena. They represent a true enigma deserving of scientific scrutiny.
The Escamilla video is an excellent cross-section of the kinds of things that I see on videotapes.
Jim Delatosa specializes in computer-assisted analysis of film and videotape. Sightings asked him to examine a large sampling from Escamilla's footage. He has found a number of unnatural flight patterns.
What we find, you'll see, is that the object comes right in front of this telephone pole and then moves right up here and over top of the wires and out of the frame. Now, in calculating this distance from where it comes in over the trees and by analyzing the edges and going up over the poles, it's about 900 yards. And in that period of time, it's moving well over 3,000 miles an hour.
There are at least 4 military bases that are known to use the airspace over this part of New Mexico. And Area 51, the supposedly non-existent Air Force testing facility, would be only 10 minutes away for a stealth fighter. Are unidentified craft like these government-built and run? The Pentagon isn't talking.
When it comes to trying to get this information, the Air Force will come back on an initial generic request stating that they have no information. This is a lie.
The proximity to military bases in New Mexico and Escamilla making these videotapes is not just a coincidence. It follows a pattern.
Skeptics offer this as proof that UFOs are actually military aircraft. But much of Escamilla's footage reveals silhouettes and velocities that are not only unidentified by eyewitnesses, but also unimaginable by current standards of technology.
I'd like to find out what they are, period. If they're top secret military aircraft that the military's testing, I want an answer why they're doing such dangerous things out there, like bumping their own jets. That's number one. But if they are not, okay, I'd like to know what they may be.
Jose Escamilla knows that not everything he's capturing on videotape can be an alien spacecraft. But he believes that his video journal of the skies above Roswell is an important research tool for ufologists. It is the only comprehensive catalog of rare daytime activity anywhere in the world.
Coming up next, a psychic detective goes in search of a brutal killer.
I would suspect this is someone capable of becoming a serial killer.
Then, what do these people see and feel that you can't? And a sightings update. The bizarre cattle mutilations continue.
The growing number of psychic phone services and storefront card readers is calling into question the integrity of professional psychics. But on Sightings, we've found that there are a few gifted individuals who do make important psychic contributions, especially when it comes to providing new leads in an unsolved crime.
This has been a very frustrating case. Potential suspects that we had early on in this case have been eliminated.
I believe in what I can feel and touch and smell and hear, but at this point in the investigation, I'm not going to rule out anything that might provide a lead.
I believe that Nancy Myers will come up with something. I truly believe in my heart.
By her own description, Nancy Meyer is a wife and a mother. But to the Nags Head Police Department, she is a ray of hope. They've never worked with a psychic detective before, but one murder has remained unsolved for more than a year, and the trail is growing cold. It happened here, on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Nags Head is a popular resort area, and in August of 1993, the town was crowded with vacationers, enjoying the last warm weekend of the summer. But there was trouble ahead. A hurricane had made landfall down the coast and was heading north toward Nags Head. That night, everyone was talking about the impending hurricane. But just a few hours later, that would change. They'd all be talking about the young woman from New Jersey they'd met in the bar. The young woman who was now dead, brutally stabbed.
My sister Janet was one of the kindest, sweetest people you'd ever want to meet. She had so many friends and was liked by everyone.
She was a very, very strong person. Very fragile, very loving, that's for sure. She had such wisdom about her that I loved.
That evening after dinner, Janet and two of her friends went to the Portico restaurant and stayed there for several hours. Her two girlfriends left an hour or so earlier. Janet stayed until closing.
Janet was staying with her brother at the Hotel Carolinian. She got back around 2:30 in the morning, went up to her room, and told her brother that she was going down to the beach to have a cigarette.
Once she left the room, we really don't know what happened. Between that time and shortly after 6 o'clock in the morning, she was brutally murdered on the beach, just a short distance east of the motel.
I ran out the door onto the deck. There were police everywhere, you know, restraining me, not letting me up to the beach. And I said, my sister hasn't come home. You know, she hasn't come home. And they wouldn't let me up on the beach. And in my heart, I knew that poor Janet had, you know, was gone.
It was the grisliest murder Nags Head had ever seen. And the police department was immediately hampered by two factors that were out of their control. Vacationers and seasonal employees were leaving in droves. Summer was over. And by day's end, the entire town was being evacuated. Hurricane Emily was on the way.
On August the 28th, Saturday morning, we completed the crime scene investigation and started interviewing potential witnesses. But on Sunday morning, we were put on hurricane standby and watch and started evacuating the area.
Hurricane Emily not only swept the murderer out of town, it swept away any trace of his heinous crime. The blood-soaked sand in front of the hotel washed out to sea, and with it, valuable clues the police would never recover. The hurricane left a clean slate, a detective's worst enemy.
It's been a very frustrating case. The fact that nobody that we've contacted or we've spoken to has seen anything, nobody's heard anything.
Anxious for new leads, Nags Head police put their skepticism aside and allowed psychic Nancy Meyer to take a look at the case.
I started working in police work 19 years ago. There's energy in every murder scene. When I look at stacks of photos of a murder scene, I am not trying to look at this poor, battered body. What I'm looking for is somewhere when that photographer moved all the way around the body, he stood exactly where the killer was at a moment when the killer was open. Bam, I'm in there. That's why I need those photos. He has a long-standing hatred of women. A veil comes over his face, there's no expression, the eyes are wooden. Nothing will stop him. I would say you are dealing with a very disturbed man. I would suspect this is someone capable of becoming a serial killer, if he is not already.
Nancy Meyer has worked on over 300 police investigations. Unlike other psychic detectives, she does not become the victim or the killer. Rather, she draws psychic pictures from crime scene photos. She told Sightings these photos were the most brutal she'd ever seen.
Photo after photo after photo. There was a personal connection. She has known him for a while.
You said that this was a planned event on his part?
Yes. He seems to have been watching her earlier in the evening.
but at a good enough distance so that no one, because some of the people she was with might have recognized him. So he's watching at a distance.
So he had parked his car in the parking lot there at the hotel.
He seems to have walked a little bit to get to where she died.
Nancy Meyer worked with a police sketch artist to create the portrait of a killer.
He has like light brown hair, grayish eyes. They look kind of like a cross between gray, blue, and hazel.
In addition to this sketch, Nags Head police detectives believe that Nancy Meyer has provided important new leads.
Mrs. Meyer's involvement in this case today is the first opportunity that I've had to work one-on-one with a psychic. And quite frankly, I didn't know what to expect. She was able to tell us a great deal more information than I had ever hoped for. Personally, the person responsible for this crime, I think the state of North Carolina should make good use of this death penalty.
She's here with me every day. I see her spirit, I know, and that's not without. I feel her. She's with me, and I know she keeps on telling me, Mom, don't worry. I'm in a better place. And I know she's with the angels. I know that.
As in any profession, there are a few unscrupulous psychics out there who prey on emotionally vulnerable victims and their families. If you're thinking about consulting a psychic detective, it's important to choose wisely. Don't pay any money up front, and work hand in hand with local law enforcement.
Next, they hear colors and taste shapes. It's being called the seventh sense.
It's not imagination, it's a different type of reality.
Imagine experiencing your five senses all mixed up. Suddenly you feel colors, you hear shapes. A friend's voice tastes like buttered toast. These are all real-life experiences of a rare group of people called synesthetes. They have a rare brain condition that mixes up all five senses and in some cases, reportedly, heightens a sixth psychic sense.
It was a beautiful clear night and I heard a warbler off in a tree and it was sending little blue bubbles off into the air.
I was seeing these flashing images and pictures and all of this thing in my mind.
If I'm introduced to someone, I can usually recall the name because I get an aura, a color.
These people are experiencing the world differently from the other 99.996% of us. They're not hallucinating, imagining, or pretending. They have synesthesia.
Synesthesia is an involuntary joining of the senses. Now you know the word anesthesia, okay, which means no sensation. Synesthesia means joined sensation. It's not imagination, it's a different type of reality.
When Harry Gilbert hears sounds, he sees colors and shapes. It's called colored hearing and is the most common type of this most uncommon condition.
If I heard something like a dog barking, it would depend on the dog. It would depend on the bark because a woof woof sound would be kind of a big smoky gray like pepper, like the pepper that you pour out of a pepper mill. Whereas a yipping dog might have small, isolated little white shapes that come out.
Dr. Richard Saitoic is a neurologist and the world's leading authority on synesthesia.
Synesthetes' memories are extraordinary. Sometimes they're even photographic. As a group, synesthetes have a higher incidence of unusual experiences, clairvoyance, precognitive dreams, empathic healing, déjà vu. But these are not crazy people running around the street hearing voices. These are very bright people who, for all the world, appear normal, except for this very peculiar and fascinating way of perceiving the world.
Synesthete Jane Gossage-Bowerman tries to translate her experience through painting. This is what the classical music she's listening to looks like.
I can do a painting and look at it, and I don't have a clue how I did it because I don't know anything about painting. I couldn't possibly draw anything my little 3-year-old grandchild can draw. I don't know how to do it, but I do know how to draw what I see.
The doorbell rings, and she sees a series of triangles, okay? Here's a screech makes a stack of colored lines, like a stack of pancakes in a way. And what synesthetes see are elementary geometric things here, you know, dots, triangles. They're seeing sort of the building blocks of perception.
Dr. Saitoic first began studying synesthesia in earnest after a chance meeting with a neighbor.
My new neighbor, invited me to dinner in North Carolina and delayed us sitting down to the table with the apology that there aren't enough points on the chicken. Now, most of the guests just thought he was being silly, but I questioned him a bit, and after a while I said, "Oh, you've got synesthesia, you know, taste and touch." And his response was, "You mean there's a name for this?"
This incident inspired the title of Dr. Saitoic's definitive book on the subject. In it, he chronicles the way the brain can create its own separate reality.
Now, Michael Watson, who is literally the man who tasted shapes of my book's title, for him, the taste of mint was a cool, smooth, curved sensation, as if reaching out to feel the backside of a glass column.
Dr. Saitoic was surprised to find that most synesthetes don't realize that their perceptions are extraordinary until someone who doesn't have it tells them so.
I first realized I had synesthesia from when I was 28. And a friend and I were trying to recall someone's name. And I said, well, it has sort of a green cast. And she said, what are you talking about? And that was the realization that I was seeing something different from what she was seeing, or she didn't have that sensibility.
Gwen Glogie also expresses her experience through painting.
When I'm reading or when I see words or when I am spoken to, I get a fabric of many different colors. And I think I would be devastated if I woke up tomorrow morning and everything were in black and white.
You see, when people ask me, they say, you know, synesthesia real? My response is, well, real to whom? To you or to the people who have it? And you see, this insistence on a third-person technological verification of any experience before accepting it as real really gets to the heart of how addicted we are to the external and the rational. And that really sweeps aside all of the kinds of knowing.
Synesthesia helps me play music because partly it is a way I remember things. Once in a while I'll hear a sound in a song that will make a vivid color that stands right out, and it makes me want to play it over and over again.
Dr. Saitoic estimates that as many as 1 in 25,000 people may have synesthesia and not know it, and those that do feel blessed.
Far from being some esoteric curiosity that's really unimportant, synesthesia turns out to be a peephole on a huge amount of the mind and the brain.
What does it feel like to have synesthesia? Well, we can never experience what they experience, but we can glimpse it through the work of some famous synesthetes, visual artists David Hockney and Vasily Kandinsky, and composers Sergei Rachmaninoff and Franz Liszt.
Next, a sightings update. The mutilations continue in New Mexico and ranchers want answers.
You know, it's a crime. They're taking my living away from me. It's just outright thievery.
Eli Hornick is a rancher in northern New Mexico who has experienced the horror of cattle mutilation firsthand. Recently, Hornick participated in a sightings investigation of animal mutilation in the Southwest. Since his participation, Hornick informs us that the mutilations have not only continued, but seem to be increasing.
The tongue was missing. The meat, after we'd cut it open, looked like it had been cooked or something.
When we found the animal, it couldn't have been there no longer than 12, 13 hours, because I was there at 6:30 in the evening. I was back there at 7 o'clock the next morning. It wasn't maybe 600 yards from the ranch house. And this animal was it had been mutilated. There's no blood, no tracks, no sign of nothing. And this animal was already decomposing, like it had been dead for 4 or 5 days.
If it was satanic cults, you'd have blood all over everything.
If it was predators, you'd have blood all over. These cuts are very uniform, very smooth. The eye looks like it has just been sucked out.
It's a pattern that continues to be all too familiar for many ranchers in the Southwest. And now there's a strange new development.
We've had a disturbing new trend where ranchers inadvertently are touching these carcasses, and they're developing what could be, I guess, likened to a chemical-like burn.
I stuck my thumb in the animal's mouth, and when I stuck that my thumb in there, well, it burned for about 2 weeks. I mean, I would say it would be like a battery acid burn or something, you know, like that.
Since our last report, the border area between New Mexico and Colorado has been hit hard. Ranchers there tell sightings that animals are decomposing at an unnaturally rapid rate, and the body count is up.
We're having mutilations that are occurring on almost a weekly basis.
They seem to be expanding outwards from this area. About a week and a half after the sighting segment aired, we had 2 cases in Saguache County, Colorado, which is about 80 miles north of here.
I think they're coming down out of the air with some kind of air equipment, picking them up, taking them, bringing them back and laying them down.
Eli Hornick is fed up with the seeming lack of interest in his and other ranchers' plight. Mutilation reports gather dust on government desks, while animals continue to die. And even as the number of dead cattle rises, official interest in the mystery is declining.
Somebody, somewhere, in this country knows what's going on. I mean, it just seems like every time we try to do an investigation, try to get something started, it comes to a dead end. We can't get senators, congressmen, you know, it just get a lot of publicity, but it just dies. You know, it doesn't seem like, you know, it's a crime. You know, this is real monetary value. This is my living. You know, it's cost me thousands of dollars already. They're taking my living away from me. It's just outright thievery. Why isn't somebody doing it? Something about it.
Our government has the capacity to monitor any square acre of ground in this country if they want to. If they are not part of the problem and they are truly as baffled about this as the ranchers and investigators like myself are, let's catch whoever or whatever is mutilating cattle.
Ranchers and private investigators say they smell a rat. They are beginning to believe that there is a government conspiracy of silence at the heart of the mutilation phenomenon.
We was cutting hay in one of the meadows, and this helicopter was right there. It looked to me like a big military-type helicopter. No numbers. And that night we had a mutilation.
I think people are scared to pay attention. They're scared. This is something of the unknown, and they just don't want to get involved. And it's a very frightening thing, especially when you see these things. You know, my God, they could come after me. Maybe they'll start on humans next. I hope not.
Finally, someone in Washington is taking the cattle mutilation problem seriously. This is a letter written by New Mexico Senator Pete Domenici requesting that the Livestock Board provide him with a detailed status report on the progress of their cattle mutilation investigation. For ranchers like Eli Hornick, it's the first sign of official support for a phenomenon that has plagued them since 1967.
If you've had a paranormal experience, call the Sightings Hotline at 1-900-933-SIGHT. That's 1-900-933-7444. Each call 65 cents a minute. Average call lasts 3 minutes. Sightings is also online. Our email address is sightings@aol.com.
Until next time, remember, no mystery is closed to an open mind. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Next on Sci-Fi, The Sentinel.
Okay, crawlers, rise and mutate!
Many insects have chameleon-like qualities.
The first family of arthropods. Meet the Apple Dates, Saturday at 9 p.m. on Sci-Fi.